Why is this ancient Roman, very dangerous political symbol, the fasces, littered around American grounds in general, right? And at the nation's capital everywhere, very specifically? First off, let's see what a fasces is, or what does it stand for. In ancient times, fasces were a Roman symbol of power and authority, a bundle of wooden rods and an axe bound together by leather straps or a thong. Fasces represented that a man held imperium or executive authority. Exercising imperium, a Roman leader could expect his orders to be obeyed, could dole out punishment, and could even execute those who disobeyed. The fasces he carried symbolized this power in three ways. One, the rod suggests punishment by beating. The leather straps or thong represent punishment by lashing or whipping. And lastly, the axe suggests punishment by beheading. On its surface, the fasces symbol implies power, strength, authority, and justice, but with a very sinister undertone. So it's saying that on the surface, it represents something that you should be proud of, some type, something that you should be proud of. But the undertone is this total authority, this totalitarian undertone that it carries, this dictatorship energy that it carries. And that's very, very dangerous. And I'm asking, why is it that America have this symbol everywhere? Okay, and we understand that symbolism is a language. It speaks, and it speaks volume, okay? So now that we got the meaning out the way, let's look at some of the most known evil men that has honored this symbol and everything that it stood for. One most notable man is Benito Mussolini, who would go on to become the dictator of Italy and who would destroy their democracy. In 1922 to 1925, he would serve as prime minister. And from 1925 to 1943, he would serve as dictator or El Duce. And he would go on in 1945 to be executed by the people, right? During the Libyan campaign, he planned a genocide against the locals, right? Killing the cattle and deporting the civilians. Okay, during the war in Ethiopia, he ordered raids with chemical weapons, right? He used poisonous gas, flamethrowers, right? Aerial bombardment. The concentration camps were employed. This man was just an all-around tyrant. He was literally very, very evil, right? He did some very, very horrible things as a leader, as a dictator under the fascist regime and party, right? World War II, he handed over the Jews and the Italians, the ones that opposed fascism, right, to the Germans. He handed them over to the Germans, and he would transport them to the camps, right? It's always been said that Mussolini's takeover of Italy was the inspiration and the example for Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party of Germany, right? With both of these men adapting two of the most common and well-known fascist symbol, right? Mussolini taking the fasces and Hitler the swastika, okay? The use of these symbols, graphics, and other artifacts created by fascist, authoritarian, and totalitarian governments have been noted as a key aspect of their propaganda. Most fascist movements adopt symbols of ancient Rome or ancient Greek. So we hear tell of how Hitler was inspired and influenced by Mussolini, but we rarely hear anything about how FDR was enamored with Mussolini, calling Mussolini admirable, and he professed that he was deeply impressed by what he had accomplished, right? So you respect him for basically controlling a nation of people with fear, torture, murder, the usual oppressive ass tactics. So you feel he was deserving of what when all he did was deprive a nation of everything, okay? Really? This is one of the presidents that they teach in school, and they say he was so amazing and he was one of the best presidents. More propaganda. Well, El Duce, Franklin D. Roosevelt, had his own little dictatorship going on in the Americas, okay? He would be the only president in the history of America to serve 4 terms, from 1933 to 1945 until his death. So it may be safe to say, who knows how long he would have actually served had he lived longer. Sound a little dictatorish to me. His first 100 days in office, he accomplished a lot, they said, but at the expense of whom? And many would respond with the answer being at the expense of the poor, most definitely. Many felt that his New Deal plan, it prolonged the suffering. It caused a lot of unnecessary deaths by starvation and things like that. And they felt like he overstepped his boundaries. He overstepped or overplayed his power, right? There were many that would say that FDR pushed the pen, bent the rules, and even the Constitution a bit during his presidency. And with the New Deal particularly, many criticized him and often accused his policies of prolonging what they believe would otherwise have been a much shorter recession. They claim that government planning of the economy was both unnecessary and counterproductive, and that the laissez-faire policy would have ended the suffering much sooner. So it was really a mixed take on his presidency, his tactics, his policies, because many felt that he was a heaven sent, right? We know that President Hoover, he did not intervene in the business of the people, so to speak, and that's where that laissez-faire policy comes in. It stands for allow the people to do basically what they please or what they deem beneficial or what they think is best to suit them. But FDR came in and he said that the citizens and the people needed the government to intervene, to be more active, and that was the only way that he saw fit to pull the nation out of the recession at that time. And that started like the snowball effect that we see today, where the government is in our business. The door went the Constitution and things like that, right? And so a lot of that can be traced back to FDR's presidency, and the people were really upset with that, right? They felt like the government was being too involved. They were being too nosy. They were too much in the people's business. And so they felt like FDR took that power from the people, where the people generally had the power, and that is the whole thing of the democracy and the governments, right? We, the people, are supposed to have the power, but they felt like that power was stripped away under FDR's presidency. This fasces represents white supremacies. This symbol is to invoke obedience, fear, torture, and even murder if need be, if there's anyone that opposes or disagrees with what this symbol represents. And the representation of this symbol is total and complete power. It's a symbol of a savage. It tells the powers that should not be to get on code and stay, or else. That or else is directed to anyone, okay? Anyone that happens to threaten the power, the position, the entitlement, the privilege, the authority that this symbol represents, it will be dealt with swiftly, quickly, and orderly or disorderly. Either way, it definitely will be dealt with, right? This is a very dangerous, oppressive symbol. It tells the citizens who holds total, utter, and complete power and authority. And if you wish to challenge this power, it represents cruel, unusual, severe, and very swift punishment. It speaks of a codality for the white supremacies of the world. And the message is loud and clear, that we are stronger together as opposed to being separate. It says that every opportunity it gets, it will destroy anyone or anything that opposes or disagree with the power that this symbol wields, even if it happened to be someone that looks identical to them. In the late 2000s, American white supremacies began using the fasces as their symbol, possibly because it didn't have the strong negative connotation of the swastika. Basically, its hateful meaning wasn't largely known. White supremacist groups such as Vanguard America, Patriot Front, and the National Socialist Movement have used the fasces as part of their logos. Okay? Why, if this is such a harmless symbol and it only means unity, why didn't they use something else? Why not something like the butterfly or something, right? Why? It could represent freedom and transformation and elevation, and maybe it could even represent superiority. Okay? The butterflies are beautiful. They can soar high. Why not use that? Why? Because the butterfly is not known for having a gruesome and a hateful, negative connote, okay? It was not gruesome enough. It didn't have that same hateful meaning as the fasces and the swastikas and things of that nature, right? The fasces has also taken on an American personality, with most American fasces depicting 13 rods representing the 13 original states. The fasces has come to represent unity rather than enforcers. So who the heck are they fooling, right? So this fasces, as far back as I can research, and I went back pretty far, it represents nothing but hate, sexism, racism, anti-feminism, anti-Jewish. It represents nothing but oppression, murder, okay, totalitarianism, authoritarianism, everything negative, everything hateful, everything oppressive. That's what this fascist symbol is connected and tied to. So now America want us to believe that they have adopted it, and it only means unity. Unity of what? Unity of whom? Yes, it does mean unity. It's saying that the races are strong. You're strong individually. You're strong by yourself. But imagine the strength and power we could wield together, okay? Imagine the punishment we could execute on our enemies or anyone or anything that oppresses us, that opposes us together. That's what it's saying. That a very small few of society should rule and have authority over the masses. This too can be traced back to FDR's presidency, where when he interjected with the government into the Great Depression, he felt that the citizens should never be left to their own devices again, meaning the government should always be involved directly, upfront, very personal with the citizens of America, heck, the citizens of the world, right? So that's what this fascist represent. And again, he was totally smitten and enamored. You can go back and find secret letters and things that he wrote to Mussolini and Adolf Hitler. He admired these men. So there had to be some kind of fascist in him, right? You don't admire and respect people that you don't have anything in common with. I mean, why would I admire Jeffrey Dahmer? I don't have anything in common with that man. Why then would FDR, not just FDR though, it goes back to the founding fathers actually taking up this symbol from ancient Rome, because they admired the Romans. And again, this symbol from the Romans, it represents a total, complete authority and the punishment in which it will wield if anyone challenge or oppose this authority. That is what it represented: murder, death, torture, fear, obedience, right? This is what it represented from the ancient Romans. So even for the forefathers of America to adopt this symbol, because you will find a statue with Washington leaning against the fascists. So this symbol dates back, a great distance back in the history of America. I'm going to end this video now because it has gone on much longer than I wanted, okay? I may have to do another part because it is so much that I want to unpack about Mussolini, Hitler, in America, and all the god-awful, hateful, cruel things that Mussolini did and what he stood for, okay? I focus more on Mussolini because we pretty much know how diabolical Hitler was, right? But we gotta understand that according to history, this is the man that inspired Hitler to do the diabolical, hateful things that he did. And you got to be a total monster. You got to be really wicked, right, to inspire the devil. And this is what begs the question: why was America so enchanted with Mussolini? Why did you find him so admirable? Why were you so impressed with his tactics and what he got accomplished, right? The thing is, yes, you can get a lot accomplished when you have people under fear of starvation. You have people under fear and threat of imprisonment because they don't look like you, because they don't think like you, right? So yes, you can get a lot accomplished doing that, but that goes against free will. And what is it again, America, that you found so intriguing and so inviting to that ideology? I don't understand that. So this is why I asked that question, and to see that this very hateful clandestine symbol is resurfacing in the hateful white supremacists has taken on this as their representation, because they totally understand what it represents, the hate that it represents, the division, the total control, right? The supremacies that's attached to that symbol. And so we're looking for the Illuminati and different symbols, but this clandestine symbol again is littered throughout America, and the representation of it is hateful, and it's always been hateful, and it still represents hate. Okay, but we are seeing hints of totalitarian and authoritarian policies and actions, okay? We're seeing it in our judicial system, where the judges are stepping in, they are overreaching, they are abusing their powers, right? And they are acquitting and overturning sentences that have been found by the jurors of these criminals' peers, right? But the judges are stepping in, and they are allowing these criminals to go free. A lot of these war criminals, they are opting to have trials by judge, or otherwise known as bench trials, because they understand that there is a code, right, for this oppressive system, and that 9 times out of 10, if you go and you put your fate directly in the judge's hand, that there's a chance that you will be acquitted, that you will get away with this war crime, as opposed to gambling with the fact that you're going to find 12 jurors that, you know, are going to be on code, right? That may pose a problem. So we are seeing it in where the governor has pardoned a self-confessed racist murderer, right? And a war criminal, right? We are seeing it show up in the Roe versus Wade when that was overturned. We see it in the educational system, where you must send your kids to their schools, their institutions, to be indoctrinated, right? We are seeing it in the real estate market, where a few of the wealthiest are buying up and monopolizing the housing market, right? We are seeing it in every part of our living, even the food. We saw it with the pandemic, where it was mandated that you got the jab to go here, to go there, to do this, to do that, stay in the house, don't go out, okay? I'm going to say this also. The entertainment and the news today is cool, but do not allow that to be a distraction, okay? That's another military tactic, distraction, okay? So we got to understand that there's a lot going on, and we need to pay attention, right? There are striking similarities to the fascist regime in Italy and what Mussolini did, to a lot of what's going on with us today. Okay, so I'm going to end it now. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the like button and do consider subscribing to the channel. Keep it peaceful until next time.